How's it, folks? I wanted to make a video about Starfield that focuses on environmental storytelling and contextual clues rather than quests that feed you the information. To start us off with, I would like to tell the tale of Starstation RE-939 and its downfall. When you first arrive in New Atlantis, you can overhear a conversation between a UC official and 3 survivors of an attack by House Varuun. You can first hear UC functionary Brooks reassuring the survivors and letting the kid Bobby know he will meet his new foster parents, although Bobby insists his parents are still alive and will come back for him. And later on, you can find him with his parents in New Atlantis. After that, the annoying one interrupts. I'm sure you're all familiar with the type. Very condescending, thinking everyone else is below them. Thankfully, it isn't long before she is put in her place. Brooks admonishes her for not initiating proper evac procedures, and we'll get more into that later. Brooks then informs her she'll get a new position that is more suitable for Helena. I found it a little funny where she ends up, but I'll end with that to give us a little more context to see why it is so deserving. Finally, Brooks thanks and congratulates Dr. Bosch for being the reason anyone made it off the station in the first place. To find out what happened at the station, there are a couple of ways of going about it. Firstly, you can visit the station even before landing at New Atlantis. It is orbiting Voss in the Alpha Centauri system. Alternatively, if you return to New Atlantis after witnessing the first conversation and head to MAST, specifically the Science Division, you can find and speak to the Good Doctor, where he asks for help retrieving his research from the station so that he doesn't have to start from scratch. Regardless of the method chosen to travel there, after entering the station you will encounter Varuun zealots, as well as the dead bodies of UC security, technicians, and the scientists that weren't able to escape. And there is a reason why it is specifically Varuun zealots that attacked the station. But in order to know that, we need to go a little deeper, as the answer has to do with what they were researching on the station. MAST built the Star Station to research xenobiology, but their research may have been partly responsible for the Varuun zealots to attack the station. For instance, one of the plants they were studying, designated VP-0184, had psychoactive properties found in its leaves. They hadn't tested it on humans specifically, but I believe it did affect one of the scientists. Which leads me to the next research topic, which is titled Survivability of Xenodigestion. Or, in other words, can people survive being eaten by alien animals? This study ended up finding that you could survive for 16 hours in the stomach if you're wearing a full spacesuit. At the same terminal is a statement from Dr. Bosch trying to reassure his colleagues about Helena Chambers and the changes she is making, even with her lacking any scientific background, yet making decisions on what can be researched. Next, there is a discussion about potential abuse of the plant with psychoactive properties and suggestion the xenodigestion was proposed by someone affected by it. This is then followed up by someone stating that Dr. Baines described an incredibly bizarre dream about being devoured by a snake. There is also another note found elsewhere on the station about how unnerving Dr. Baines has become to his fellow researchers, with Baines even referring to them as a penitent, which is a person who repents their sins and seeks forgiveness from their God, which is starting to sound an awful lot like Dr. Baines was seeing the great serpent that House Varuun worship, while under the effects of the psychoactive leaves. Perhaps he had similar visions to Janan Varuun, who founded House Varuun, or maybe he was seeing visions of the station being attacked by Varuun zealots in alternate realities. Alternatively, he could have been another House Varuun spy, and once he got the information he needed, he called his brothers and sisters to attack the station and rejoin House Varuun. Or perhaps it is all just a coincidence and he had nothing to do with the attack, although I feel like this is the least likely of the options. There is still another mystery about the station. How was it possible that House Varuun was able to attack and take over the station, even though it's practically in the backyard of the UC, with New Atlantis, its capital, being in the same system? This is the part that Helena Chambers may have messed things up enough to create weaknesses that House Varuun could exploit, and allowing only 3 people to be able to evacuate from the station and arrive at New Atlantis. Firstly, she completely changed the evacuation protocols that went against UC guidelines, and is what actually got her in trouble. She made it so the admin officials were given priority over even the children on the station, as the station also had the workers' families on board. This led to an argument between the head of security and one of its lower ranked members, but the head of security managed to convince Chambers that the station would then require more shuttles, although they had yet to arrive. The second nail in the coffin is the budget cuts to security, so much so that the scientists noticed a significant decrease in the number of security officers on board the station, with Helena Chambers even suggesting that the scientists should start undergoing firearm training. It turns out that 2 of the Marines got engaged and left, and they were waiting on mast to vet new replacements, which led to a shift change that forced the remaining members to work extended shifts for about a week, which left the station the weakest it has ever been with its missing members and the remaining Marines being stretched thin, and with the new evac protocol mandating a security escort for the admin staff like Helena Chambers. And the Varuun, whether they were told to or already planned to, attack and overrun the station, leading to the scene of when you first arrive in New Atlantis. Now we finally get to Helena Chambers' reassignment at the Terra Brew coffee kiosk. When you enter, you can overhear her complaining to the manager that she won't serve customers and still seems to be a terrible person. And if you read her ideology for being a manager, you can understand why she will never get an administrative position again. She wanted to create an environment of fear and distrust with her Spectre management system, or in her own words, supervise aggressively, provide the relevant feedback, engender the appropriate amount of fear so they correct their behavior, and train their minds to expect your presence. I would honestly hate to have her as my supervisor. So, do you feel like she got what she deserved? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you would like to see similar videos, then clapping that like and or subscribe button would let me know you wish to do so. Otherwise, I hope you all have a fantastic day, take care, and cheers for now.